Super excited to be sitting here today with James III. He is a writer, producer, and actor, best known for co-creating and co-starring in the Netflix series Astronomy Club. I'm going to hand it over now to James to tell us a little bit more about himself.
Hi, yes, I'm James. I write, I act, I produce. I just started a comic book company. It's called Rule of Three Inc. The first comic is called Junior. That is out and available now. So please pick it up. It's comedy, horror comedy, fun little afterlife scenario for people to sort of be living in. And I mean that's me. I love sci-fi, superheroes, time travel stuff. That's what you need to know. If you want to know my life, that's what you need to know about me.
Tell us a little bit more about those kind of maybe formative experiences, maybe those things in your childhood or adult life that motivated you to become a creator. We'd love to know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was a weird kid. At least I don't know how. I mean, people called me weird. People called me nerd. People called me this, that, and the other. But I didn't feel like I was weird. But when I go back and look at the like home videos, I think I was certainly a strange. I was a strange kid. I did impressions. I always did impressions of like cartoons and stuff. I remember seeing. We went to Disneyland when I was maybe 6, 7, and the entire time I'm doing the voice of Iago, the parrot, the whole time. I don't know why. I mean, I remember enjoying doing that voice, and I approximated it pretty well for being a kid. But it was like I don't know why, but every time I was on camera, I'm doing that voice. So I was a weird, strange little kid.
I mean,
I went.
Iago's like a super cool, bossy character. I mean, no one
Yes,
would not be Iago. Yeah.
a lot of fun, and Gilbert Gottfried, R.I.P. Fantastic performer. Um, and that led to me. I went to performing arts middle school, performing arts high school, did visual art, and also acting. I had always wanted to do it from a young age. Was really inspired by people like Spielberg, Tim Burton, comedians like Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy. Big Nickelodeon fan, Keenan Kel, everyone that was on Nickelodeon at that specific time. So the 90s to 2000. They're like Disney adults. I'm a Nickelodeon adult. Okay,
Okay.
so that's those were heavy influences for me.
And so, like, fast forward to now, can you tell us a little bit more about like your day to day life as an artist?
Yeah, I mean, well, right now, I mean, we're on strike on the actor side. The writer strike just ended, so I'm sort of back to trying to develop ideas and pitch ideas and get work out there as a writer.
Yeah.
On the acting side, we're picketing, and being careful to abide by the rules of that strike. It's been a weird few years as a creator, from and as it's been for everyone, it's been a weird few years given the pandemic and but going from on the performing side and on the writing side, going from like a year of you can't do anything to like now a work stoppage. It's been a strange kind of it almost feels like double dutch a little bit, like they're like, oh, when am I going to jump in, when do I, and like
Yeah.
figuring out how to navigate the space. um uh, Not to, but does that answer that your
Yeah,
question?
no, absolutely. And then so we'd also love to know just like where's the kind of like the middle part, like the sandwich. So how did you create this life for yourself? We know what kind of like motivated you and we know like what your day-to-day life is, but how did it all come together?
Yeah, I mean, slowly, I'd say. I went to school in New York. I'm in Los Angeles now, or I'm in Burbank now, and I went to school in New York, studied acting, did comedy there, did improv comedy at school, and started doing. When I got out of school, I started doing theater. I wasn't quite popping in the way that I wanted to in the theater space, but found some nice work. I found home at an experimental theater in in Brooklyn for a number of years. Did a lot of weird plays that I am very proud of, and was sort of surprised how connected to the experimental off Broadway theater space I was. And then I think things really started to click for me when I started taking classes at the UCB Theater in New York, which is back now. I don't know how many of you out there that are watching this know that it was gone for a little bit, and there was some financial things, but it's back on both coasts. That's where I met a lot of my current collaborators. I worked with some people there. We founded a team called Astronomy Club. We were an improv team first. We started doing sketch. And then that led to us ultimately doing a series for television. Was really that my time there is what connected me to the industry in a nice way. It wasn't a direct line necessarily. It wasn't like once you're here, you're gonna be on SNL, which is what brought me to UCB. Like I remember watching an episode of SNL and being like, I want to do that, and like signing up for classes that week. Um, but there was like there are industry eyes, at a theater like that, and that led to meetings and agent meetings and showcases, and then work in my comedy teams, Astronomy Club and Black Men Can't Jump, doing work in the digital space. We did a lot of stuff for Comedy Central for a while. And so that is what really, I think, things started to, in terms of clicking, to answer to this long way of answering your question, in terms of clicking, that's when things started to click, once I started to come into my own as a comedic performer and writer.
And how did you pursue finding professional representation?
The first one I kind of found through, there are these kind of meet and greets that are out there that you're sort of able to do, and you have to be careful with those. There's some that are you don't know if they're out just trying to get your money, or what. I was fortunate enough to meet with someone, and they liked my work, and I worked with them for a number of years. And then they let me go. They were like, listen, this isn't working. As I said, I was in the theater space and things weren't quite clicking. And then comedy is what led to my next rep. Someone on one of my comedy teams recommended me to their rep, and the rep was already familiar with my work because I had been working with these people and doing all of these doing all of these shows, and it was specifically an SNL live audition that I didn't go far. I just did the live audition at that time, that my friend's rep was at, happened to see, liked it, and then the next day we started the talks, and it was cool. It was cool to get, it was like I didn't get the main goal of that of that performance, which was like trying to be on the biggest sketch stage there is. But I did end up getting rep, and I worked with them up until just a few years ago, uh, before transitioning to the rep I'm with now. People said to me, asking around, being open to, cold submissions, being open to putting your work out there and seeing where your work, what attention does your work attract. For as much as like it's probably annoying for people in their position to get just unsolicited, and some places say don't send unsolicited, and in those places listen to that. But if it's a place that is not like that is open to that and receptive to that, I think it is worth being the squeaky wheel and asking for what you want. If there's something that you want, asking for it. It may not always work out, but if you are in the same time putting yourself out there and continuing to work on yourself, I think, at least in my case, what has happened is the things start to line up in that way.
Can you speak to your experiences co-creating Astronomy Club and writing for all of that?
On the SAG side, I probably can't talk about Astronomy Club as much.
Okay.
As a writer though, it was a long road. We had been working together as a live performance, sketch, and improv team for, I want to say, 2 years. Our sketch show was getting some attention. We fortunately were doing live showcases, and that led to working at Comedy Central. And while at Comedy Central, we developed more content. And I think having, physical content to point to and say, this is our work. This is the kind of work that we do was integral to leading to getting the show on the air. A way that I can talk about this that I believe would be copacetic with the union is like the eight of us, you know, um, uh, all had a variety of different skills, and we worked really hard to make sure that those skills were represented. And we had great people within our ranks that were really good at specifically the pitching side, the producing side, the hustling side. Gerard, Jonathan, namely, but among others, Keisha, who are great performers and writers, but also had strong, producer mindset. And I think what is important about that, and something to think about for just like a broader audience or people that are interested in pursuing this space, is try to align yourself with people. If there's an area that you're like, oh, I don't know so much about the business side, or I don't know so much about the producing side. I think that there's several different types of artists out there. There's the one-stop shops, the Donald Glovers that literally do everything, and then there's the teams and the producing partners and so I think I personally felt the pressure of like I have to be the one guy who does everything, but I also think that like I'm fortunate that I worked with a team of people that had different sort of skills and different sort of they knew how to sort of work that like networking angle in a way that I wasn't as privy to. And then as a writer on all that, I mean, I interviewed for all that twice. That when I first interviewed for it, it was before Astronomy Club. I was so excited about this opportunity, but I didn't have a lot of sketch on my resume. And then 4 months later, or something like that, the interview came up again, and I didn't get it that first time. The interview came up again, and at that time, we had written like 100+ sketches together for this television program that we were working on. And it was like, I literally just came out of this experience. I think it set me up to be a good candidate to work on that show. It was great to get to do, as a fan of it, growing up, getting to work on it as an adult, and stretching that sketch muscle again. Right, we had to write so much. It was really an amazing experience.
What are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned over the years when it comes to working with different creative partners?
I think communication is key. Communication is key. I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is express yourself. And so, figuring out anytime you go into a partnership with someone, figuring out like, what are the boundaries? What are the ways that you want to work together? Establishing those roles, I think is important. The other side of that is knowing that it is okay to speak up for yourself, and to make sure that you know, you are putting your voice forward regardless of whether what you think the outcome's going to be, because when working with other people, know that it is a partnership. Even if it's like you're working on a show and someone else's name is on the moniker, yes, the buck might stop with that person. And that is, and rightfully so, that is their name on the on the marquee. But you also got that job for a reason. You're going into that partnership for a reason, and so just knowing that putting yourself, making sure that you are represented is important.
Does writing or producing, does that kind of creativity help you in other parts of your life?
The more I work in the sort of creator driver seat, or creative driver seat, so to speak, I think the more it sort of helps, at least for me, it helps to inform like how I navigate in other spaces. It's sort of similarly to what I was just saying about communication, but just like knowing, you know, knowing what when to say what I want, and how to be sort of how to exist standing on my own too. I feel like growing up, um, I have often been very sort of like a reserved, kind of pulled back, kind of like please ignore me type person. And the more I sort of venture off into the creative driver's seat, I think that informs my confidence, my directness, my and then also like the more people that you kind of are dealing with, be it on the writing side, like characters that you're writing, or on the producing side, literally how you're interacting with people. I think it you sort of start to build like a toolbox for different scenarios and different situations that you're in, and so it you feel better prepared, I think, at times.
How are you defining success these days?
One is like, if I feel good about like the words on the page, or if I feel good about the performance, like the accepting that as number one. I think I worked, and I also think it is fair if anyone does work this way, but I think I worked very much from a like an outside in, like, oh, what do they want? What does the audience want? What does and now I think I feel like it's successful if I got out of it what I needed to get out of it. Um, and then um, as now that I'm starting to produce my own stuff more and more, I'm defining success as, have I made time to work on a project for myself? Have I made time to work on something, that is mine, that is going to be able to represent me, again, regardless of what the reaction is, but have I been able to make time for that? And I think that feels like success to me.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give to a creator who's just starting out?
Um, do it. I this was what was true for me, and what seems to be true for a lot of people that I know, is that a lot of times you might be afraid to share something, you might be afraid to start something, you might be afraid to post something, and that fear is good because you it means you care, right? It means you care about the thing that you are working on. But I want to just encourage to anyone that is just getting started out, to post the thing, to what's in your drafts right now. Post that, what's the thing that you have been thinking about, and have not quite, maybe you don't feel like you have all of the resources for that short film you want to make, or for what have you. But do the crappy version. Do the version that doesn't have all of the bells and whistles that you want it to have. And I think that's okay. One of the other side of that coin is people always say, I have often heard, don't make the idea you really want to make first, because whatever that first thing is going to be is that it's going to be bad. Or like it won't have that look on your face is how I feel about that. Don't make the thing but I've heard it from a lot of people. Don't make the thing that you really want to make, because you need the first thing to pop off so you can make the right money, so that the next thing that you make is as strong and as blah blah blah. And I'll just say, while I understand that viewpoint, I want to encourage you to just, if there's something you want to make it. Make the thing.
What are you watching these days?
Yeah, I don't think I can say what I'm watching these days, but I can tell you what I'm reading,
What are you
which
reading?
is, there is a comic boom called Vicious Circle. It is incredible. It is about There's this battle between good and evil that's been happening across time. That it is awesome. It is checking all of the right boxes for me. I'm also picking up the current run of Miles Morales is really good. I'll leave it at those two. I'll leave it at those.
And where can our viewers connect with you and engage with more of the work that you've got going on?
Yes, you can find me at Rule of Three Inc. On Instagram, TikTok. Three is the number three. So it's rule of the number three, INC for ink. And you can also go to ruleof3ink.com. That's where you can find my comics and any sort of visual video media that I might have coming up as well.
Well, those are all of our questions. Thank you so much for being with us today, James. Everything that you shared with us is super special. Like you, I encourage everybody out there to post the thing, make the thing that you really want to make. So super glad that you were able to be here with us and share all this great knowledge with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for sharing me with your network. Thank you.
Absolutely.